All right, as we go on here, just so you know, first thing is I just sent everybody a URL. You don't have to open it up or anything, but that URL is for my YouTube channel for the Android stuff. What I'm going to have to do this weekend is go back and watch a lot of my old videos. Because sometimes, ever heard the saying, out of sight, out of mind? Well, certain things I thought would work a certain way are not. So I'm going to have to go back. What I have in there, if you look, is I've got all the PowerPoints for the whole book, basically. Okay? And after that, then I've got some stuff, a real simple Android greeting program, some other stuff, the rock, paper, scissors, broken up into 5 different lectures. Then I did BMI in a bunch of different languages, etc. What I'm going to end up doing over the next few weeks is replicating a lot of the stuff I had done earlier. All right? But if you want to get ahead or you want to look at it, or if I'll still tape the stuff, but if we're having problems, you can go back and you can take a look at that. The other thing I want to tell you is I gave everybody the last 12 pages of this document. So why didn't I give you the first 9? Because page 1 is a picture. Page 2 explains this is a tutorial. Page 3 is a picture of installing Android Studio. So is page 4. Page 5 is how you open up a project. Page 6 is how you name a project. Page 7 is how you get an activity. And page 8 explains those steps. So you've already done that. All right? But what I'd like us to do, would like everybody to do, please, all right, is I'm going to go back and on this file that we were creating right here, this where I put this public show name, etc. I'm just going to get rid of that. All right? I'm going to go back to my strings file. All right? And I've got in there, this is my title. I'll leave that in there. I don't really care. But I want to pick it up pretty much right here on the first page that you have. Okay? And what I want to do is to try and see how much of this, hopefully all of it, we can go through. And then after we go through it, I want to talk to you about the second document and show you a couple of things on that. And I don't know, that'll be time for another break, I'm sure. But then after the break, I just want you to play around with it. Just try a few things. See what happens when you try some things. All right? Again, we're working on practice projects, so the worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to lock the system up. Big deal. All right? So I'm going to go back to my activity main file that I have right here. I've got a button there. I'm going to remove the button, or try to remove the button. There it is. It's gone. All right? And I'm going to go back, and I don't remember what was there to begin with, but I think it was a... I think it was a text view, so I'm just going to put a text view in there. All right, that's fine. Okay, now, as we get started, a few things I want to mention to you. Okay, remember Ethan was good enough to enlighten us last week on that calculator program, but we talked about the different types of layouts. Remember that and all the problems? Well, if you look here, if you look on the screen there, there's your different layouts. So we can change this, and if I change this to a grid layout, this is going to change, etc. if I change this in any way. All right? But that's how you set layouts. And it'll show you in here, basically, how things are going to be set too. All right? Now, we look in here, we've got containers. We're probably not going to get into any of that stuff, except we may get into the list view a little bit when we go through that example of the task list. We'll see. Images, if you want to put a control, they call them widgets here, but if you want to put a control on the screen that's going to hold an image. All right? Date, pretty much what you think. You need to put a date picker or something in there. All right? Transactions, or transitions rather. This is if you're going to try to do some animation, basically. All right? Advanced, not even anything in there. Google, there's nothing in there. All this is supposed to show you everything that's in all of these. But the one we'd be most concerned with would be widgets. Now, when you go into widgets, this is just text stuff. All right? So why is that important? Well, if you notice here it says number, and here it says number signed, etc. Okay? What you're basically saying in here is what kind of input are you going to allow? All right? And this looks much different from the last time I used it. All right? It's not that it's better, it's not that it's worse. Okay? But we're going to come in here, and the first thing, if you have not already done this, so notice I just dragged that out. Okay? And I'm going to, this is the first thing to notice. And I didn't mention this before, so regardless of what you're doing, if you look up on the screen, okay? You see up on the top here, under attributes, you see the top attribute? That's the equivalent of the name field. All right? I don't want this stuff named text view 6, text view 10, etc. I want your stuff to be named. You can either start it like this, text view, and put something on the end, or if you want to put, like TV for text view, you come up with your own way of doing it, but I want you to establish a standard. What most people do, all right? So if I was going to call this title, I would just come over to here, I would click on this, I would remove that, and then just add the title. You cannot, it's the same kind of rules that we talked about with C#. You can't have spaces in there. You can have numbers. I believe that you can have underscores, but you can't have hyphens, etc. All right, so nothing changed. All right, but again, what I'd like everybody in here to do, just so you get used to it, is go to the attributes field and rename this to something. You're not turning this in anyway. Since it's a text view, if yours is something else, then whatever at the end. So I'm just making mine text view title. Okay. Now, then I'd like you, if mine says text view on it, yours may say hello world, it doesn't really matter. All right? But if you've got text in here like I do, I'd like you to remove that. All right? So highlight it and remove it. And then click the ellipsis that's over here, the 3 dots. It doesn't show very well, at least on my screen, until I put my mouse over it. Click there, and then I want you to go down or up to add new resource, just like we did before, and new string value. All right? And we'll just call this title. Doesn't matter if it's uppercase or lowercase. It really doesn't. This is the way it's going to appear in the strings.xml file. So I'll just put in title in lowercase. All right? And I'm just going to say, this is my app title. It doesn't matter what you put in there. It really and truly doesn't matter. I just want you to get used to putting something in and having you start to fill up your strings.xml, what's called your strings.xml resource file. All right? Because what I'm trying to show you, and am I doing a great job? Hell no. But what I'm trying to show you is the way that most people create this stuff. All right? So after we put that in, I'm going to click OK. And then what you should notice is this changes to this is my app title. And you notice if you look in here, it's got an @string, which the @ means it's going to be in a resource file. Which resource file? The string resource file. And its name is title. Does that make sense? All right. I can always go back to that, and I can look in my strings.xml file, and you notice, I don't know which one I just put in, but what's that? That's what I thought. Get rid of that. All right. Where do you find the strings.xml file? You go over here on the right, and you go under values, and it's one of the 3 that's right there. All right. So you can always open up that file. There is absolutely nothing wrong. If you look on the screen here, if I wanted to, I could copy this, put it down below, and let's just say I wanted to do this. You don't have to do this, but let's say I wanted to do this. And I said here, footer. This is my app footer. Now, nothing is associated with that. But what I'm telling you is you can grab strings that you made and copy them. All right, and have them all over the place if you want to. That's no big thing. All right, I don't want to do that now, so I'm not going to, but I just wanted you to see that. So again, I want you to get the correlation that you should be putting it into your strings.xml file. All right, and I just showed you how to do that. We highlighted our widget. First thing we did was we changed its ID attribute. Then we went down to its text attribute. We removed what was there. We clicked the ellipsis. We chose add new resource, new string value. All right? I don't think that's over and above any of you. I don't think that's really very hard to do. But the point is, what you should be doing is for anything that you're putting text on, even something as simple as a plus sign on a button, that's the way you should do it. Always. All right? Now on the next page, on page 10, all right, of the handout, back of the first page I gave you, they go through these same steps that I just went over with you. All right? Then next, they come in and they talk about how to add a button. Well, guess what? You know how to add a button already. So I'm going to grab this thing here that's got my title on it. You don't have to do this, but I'm going to grab it. And I'm just going to drag it up. And let go. So it's near the top. You don't have to do that. But I'm doing it because I want to grab a button. Okay, so I'm going to go up to my widgets. I guess in widgets. And there it is. And I'm just going to take it and drag it and let go. Boom. Now I added a button. Okay? And you might say, well, why when you try to put it in the middle, why did it put it there? It's because of the type of layout we have. Again, we're going to go over all this stuff. It's not possible to teach everything, and it's also not possible to teach everything at one time. All right? So I'm going to come over to here. I'm going to grab my button and drag it so it's pretty much in the center. All right? And they want us, after we create that, again, I'm following their steps here. They want us to change the text from button, like it is, to next page. So again, I'm going to call this one, you'll understand why in just a second, button, go to next page. Now that's kind of a long name, but it's fine. So I changed the name of this button to button, go to next page. All right? I'm not 100% following this as far as their text and stuff. All right? So I'm going to go over for the button. I'm going to go and find, somewhere in here has got to be the text, right? Well, there's the style. I don't see it. There it is. I don't want that. So again, I'm going to remove everything that's in there. Again, click the ellipsis. Again, go to new string resource, string value. You can call it again whatever you want, but I'll just call it the same thing. Button, go to next page. All right. And for the value, it'll just be next page. I click OK. I go back and you can see how it says next page. All right. I go back to my strings file. I see it's there. Now, that might be a little overkill calling it that, but I'm just trying to do it, especially when I'm first starting here, to make sure I know what goes with what. All right. And again, you might say, I understand, but that was really a stupid-ass name that you gave to your button. Yeah, it is. But it's very reflective of what I'm trying to do with it. Okay? All right. So the next thing they want us to do, if you're following along, I'm on page 13 now, is they want us to create a second activity. You look up on the screen, please. What we want to have happen is eventually when we set up an emulator and we run this, and it comes up and it looks sort of like this, when we click this button that says next page, we want the current screen that's up to go away and a new screen to come up. Does that make sense? That's the whole idea behind this particular tutorial. All right? So what we want to do then is we want to create a second activity. So how do we do that? All right. Well, it says here at the top of the project's file system, and where the heck is that? Well, that's what we moved way over. All right. It had all the stuff in it before. Drag that over. drag that over, not that. All right, I want this back. Now, if yours isn't showing, mine wasn't just showing, right? It was gone. I want to be able to show my project window. I click View, Tool Windows, Project. All right. View, Tool Windows, Project. There it is. Okay, I had to do it twice for whatever reason. All right. So, what we want to do next, following their steps, is we want to right mouse click on the folder here that says App. We want to choose New. Now, does this look similar to IntelliJ IDEA? Isn't that kind of what we did on the source folder? All right. But we don't want to choose Java class. We want to go down and choose Activity. All right. And we want an empty activity. Now, they say in the handout here, it says to choose, I think it says there it's called blank activity, but it's empty activity is the one we want. All right. Now, notice what it's called by default. Do you see where if you've got a lot of screens, you probably don't want to keep the name main activity? Because now it's main 2 activity, which is a dumb name. But we can go back and change that later. Again, I don't care about that for right now. All right, so I'm just going to keep all the stuff that's here, and I'm going to click Finish. All right. Now what we have is, if you look in here, we have 2 different activities. And notice I've got my activity main, and I've also got an activity main 2. Make sense? All right. And all we want to put in here, for now at least, is we want to go over to our widgets. We want to find a text view. Just drag it in here. All right. And what they want you to basically put on here is, we'll call it text view page 2. All right. And for our text, we're going to get rid of the text that's in there. We're going to, again, click on the ellipsis, add a new string resource. We'll call it what it is. So we'll call it page 2. And the text will just be, this is page 2. All right. So that's what's in there now. All right. And that's exactly what they tell us to do on pages 13, 14, and 15. Okay? All right. Then, step 6, I'm going to go back to my activity main, and I want to go to my button right here. All right? Now they're telling us they want us to put in some code. Okay? This is what I want to show you. So, I'm going to come in here, and I'm going to go to my activity, my main activity Java file, the one right there. Okay? All right. So it says write the buttons on click event. Okay. So we've got this Oncreate thing. We've got this thing up here. Well, I'm going to come right up to the top here, and I'm going to type in the code that they show on the top of page 16. So I'm going to type in button equals, and what did I call my button? Oh, that was a real ugly name, wasn't it? Okay, button, find view. Notice there's IntelliSense here. Find view by ID. Oops, well, it didn't work, but there's IntelliSense. All right, find view by ID, r dot ID dot, and when I look in here, there it is. There's button, go to next page. All right. Now, does this look familiar? It being in red. Does it look familiar? It says hold down on the Alt key and press Enter. All right, I thought that's what it said. Give me a break, would you? All right, there it says Alt Enter, Alt Enter. And what did it do? It added the import statement for me. Import Android.widget.button. And another thing it does, you may like this, you may not like this. Not only does it add that stuff, it alphabetizes everything for you. Okay, you can, if you don't like it, you can change it, but if you add something else, I think it re-alphabetizes it for you. Okay, so we've got this thing here. So right underneath, right here, right underneath this routine that's called Oncreate, which we haven't talked about yet, but we will, I'm going to type in the code that they show up here, and that is, I've got the button, all this stuff right here. In fact, I'm going to move all of this down. I'm going to put everything that's in here right underneath my Oncreate. So I've got this line. This is all the stuff that you see in the book or in the handout on page 16. Now, button dot set on click listener, and you may or may not have noticed it's red because I have not imported that file. New view dot on click listener. All right. Again, I want to come over here. Doesn't appear to like it when you're on that line. Come on. Set on click listener. Cannot resolve. Yeah, I know that. It used to be. It was. No, there should be a paren here. Yeah. So that's one of the errors. But it used to work exactly like it did in IntelliJ IDEA. You put your mouse on here, you held down on Alt, you hit Enter, and it fixed. Okay? It's not doing it now, but it will come up. But I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to work, and just there. Unnecessary semicolon. That's true. All right. And again, all I'm doing is I'm adding all of the text that you see in the book, all of the text that you see in the handout or whatever on page 16. Right now, in many ways, not every way, but in many ways, this is going to look very JavaScript-like, just so you know that. All right? So I've got that done. I didn't know how far we were going to get today, but if I'd have been smarter, what I would have done, it would have been to just typed all this stuff out for you ahead of time. Imports. That's weird. All right. This is what I'd like you to do. All right. You've got those pages in front of you. You've got basically a new project. Correct? Basically, you have a new project. All right. If you don't like what you've got on your screen right now, just start brand new. Start up with a new project. But I want you to follow these steps and see if you can create what's on here. You can use their exact same naming conventions. What they do is they show you every step in here. All right? Did everybody hear what I just said? I'd like you to use this handout I just gave you, and I want you to create the entire thing from scratch. All right? So I'm going to start all over too. I'm just going to do a file and tell it I want to close the project, and I'm just going to start with a new one. All right? I'm going to follow every step that they have in here. I'm going to use their naming convention. I'm going to use their everything. Now they want you to call it Hello World. If that bugs you, go back online or go to your desktop and remove your folder that's called Hello World. Call it Hello World 2. It doesn't matter. You're not turning this in. This is just meant to be a practice exercise. The bad thing is they're not quick on the draw over there. And I've already had 2 more people from the morning class who are interested. So again, I'm going to pick it up here, right here. So we just made a blank activity. If you're confused, look up here, please. So what I'm asking you is, this is the same thing you have. And if you say, I'm just totally confused, I don't even know where to frickin' get started. Well, that might not make any sense to you. So if you turn the page, they tell you exactly what to do, step by step. Then they say add a button. They show it pictorially, but if you turn the page, they show you exactly what to do, step by step. Then they say create a second activity. And if you turn a couple pages, they show you what to do, step by step. Now the code's probably not going to make a lot of sense right now. That's okay. All right? If we can get to this point by the end of the period, then I'm happy. What we'll do tomorrow is we're just going to start at the beginning of class. We're going to create an application. All right, it'll be our first one. We'll do it as a class. It may take all 4 hours. All right? I don't know. It may take an hour. It may take 2 hours. Chances are closer that it'll take 2 or 3 hours than there are that it'll take an hour. All right, but we'll do it from scratch. I'll have it created ahead of time. I'll even give you a copy of it. All right? So if for some reason you fall behind, you will have that. But the way I'm looking at it is if we can do that and we take our time and can create an entire app in a period, that's a very good start. Then we'll go back to the book on Friday, and in the book, we'll start with Chapter 3, and Chapter 3 in the book is literally building this tip calculator from scratch. And we're just going to follow it step by step. Then Chapter 4 is on how you can test and debug an Android app. All right? And I'll show you a few things, some of which are in the book, some of which are not in the book. All right? I'm just telling you right now, I'm going to base the project that we do tomorrow. So if you want to get a little bit of a head start, I'm going to base it on this one, this part 2, but I'm not going to do it exactly the way that they've done it. They have you do the equivalent of, they call it a fortune teller app. I'll show you, I think at the end they have a picture of it someplace in here. There. It'll look like that. I don't like that. Ours will look better than that. All right? I'm going to at least see if I can get my own images, and if I can't, I'll use theirs. All right? But I don't like the way they do it because it says here, suggest the question, which you can answer yes or no and click on the magic ball. Well, wouldn't it be better if we had like a text, or like a edit text where you could ask a question and then you could click on this and it would give you the answer there? We're going to do something more like that. All right? We already did that in the C# class, but we're going to kind of do the equivalent of that in here. That's what I plan on having us do tomorrow. All right? Then, like I said, Friday then, we will go back to the book and do all of Chapter 3. That shouldn't be a problem. And maybe even Chapter 4. All right? by next week, by maybe Monday, maybe Tuesday, I don't know. What I'm going to do is we'll do one more app as a class, and then I'm going to give you one to do. It won't be, solving the world. It'll be something fairly simplistic. All right. So again, I'm going to stop taping, but I'm going to start another one, and I'm just going to literally just keep following the steps that are in here. I'm not going to talk. I want you to do it, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to tape me doing it.